Village Board meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Trustee Schultz?
Here.
Trustee Markwart?
Here.
Trustee Cook?
Here.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Here.
Trustee Takaoka?
Here.
We have a quorum. We also need a motion to appoint Mayor Pro Tem.
Mr. Clerk, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to appoint Trustee Cook as President Pro Tem and to engage whatever electronic means we need to do it as a separate. Fine. Trustee Cook, President Pro Tem.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Congratulations.
Okay, motion carries. And we have a quorum.
Mr. President, is it of the appropriate time now?
No, I'll give you a second. I want to do the pledge first. And
You want to do the pledge
Yeah,
first?
yeah. might as well. Okay. Would everyone please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance Okay, now, would that be,
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to invoke our standing rule for the addition of additional members to the meeting via electronic means.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Does that require a roll call?
It does, and we should also note that this is being done pursuant to Chapter 5 ILCS, Section 120/7 of the Illinois Open Meetings Act, which permits, with advance notice, which was given in this case, a member of the board to participate electronically in the event of a physical condition or disability, what have you. And as we know, the mayor is currently has a medical condition which prohibits him from being here this evening.
okay. So we have a motion, a second. We need a roll call?
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, do we have him hooked up yet, or?
Michael is in the process right now.
He can't.
Can he act as the?
No.
He went through that before.
If you don't take, if you don't spend 30 seconds worth, you're cut off.
Sorry. First time we've ever used this. Yeah, we might have to. I don't know why it's not. There we go. Hello, Kathy?
Yeah,
Hi, looking for the mayor?
okay, he's right here, hang on. Hello?
Roger, we have you on speaker. Can you hear us?
Yeah, within reason, yeah.
Okay. Okay. We've already done the pledge and everything, and we're two citizens wishing to address the board. So why don't we go ahead and start with that? We had somebody scheduled. Gentlemen, if you want to come up for this what-if project?
Hello, my name is Jack Mulcrone, and this is my younger brother, Devin. I'm going to be a senior at Vernon Hills High School, and he's going to be a freshman. We've been working on this independent passion project for almost a year now, but we would like to take it to the next step. Please watch this video, and keep in mind that these steps are preliminary and can be subject to change. So- Hi, my name is Jack Mulcrone, a junior at Vernon Hills High School. Hi, my name is Devin Mulcrone, an 8th grader at Hawthorne Middle School South. And we have an idea that will empower our community and revolutionize the way we use energy. Here at the Vernon Hills Complex, there's always one constant. It's just too windy. We also noticed that our coaches always wait until the last minute to turn the lights on because they knew how expensive it was to run them. So that got us thinking, what if we could use this wind to power our athletic facilities? And what if we could create something that we can use to teach our community about natural energy? The Vernon Hills Energy Farm. Vertical wind turbines to capture the wind and harvest electricity for evening sporting events. An energy education and research classroom with a solar panel array, rainwater harvesting system, geothermal heating, composting washers, and interactive teaching display systems. At this point, you're probably thinking a few things. One, it's a great idea. Two, do these students have any idea how this can get done? Yes, we have a multi-step solution for that. Get our school district and local government to support our concept so we can take it to that next level. Establish a nonprofit charitable organization to start our fundraising efforts. Ask EHHS parents to donate their professional expertise to design, engineer, and build our unique energy and research facility. Architects, engineers, attorneys, contractors, accountants, and scientists. Get to know our county, state, and federal representatives and introduce them to a winning bipartisan team. Have our new political friends assist us in applying for and obtaining state and federal energy grants. Ask dozens of Vernon Hills and Lake County corporations and businesses to donate funds, sponsor the purchase of solar panels or wind turbines, and be a part of our amazing idea. Let's get it built. Develop an app for teachers and students to monitor in real time how much wind and solar energy we are producing, as well as how much energy costs the Vernon Hills Energy Farm is offset. Encourage all local schools to visit our world-class energy facility on field trips. Students will experience earth science and energy research in action. Our community will become a precedent for science, technology, education, and research for future generations of students. We can make this happen by simply asking, what if we're all willing to do whatever it takes? Thank you for listening to our presentation, and we hope you're encouraged to ask yourselves, what if?
Very good.
Thank you. Thank you. So again, we would like to thank you for having us here today and for considering our concept. Ideally, we would like to hear your recommendations for how to proceed and what can actually be done here. Please let us know what your initial reactions are.
Okay, I have at least one at trustee Oppenheim.
Fantastic idea and great presentation.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm certainly fully in favor of this. I think it's brilliant. And I don't know what the next steps would be, but it seems like you've listed many of them. One thought that I had was, I know I'd seen a video of wind turbines from, I can't remember if it was Amsterdam, some company in Europe that actually were in the shape of trees that that perhaps you can look into the different options. Have you, the only question I have is, have you looked into the costs at this point, and also what type of energy each one of these would produce?
So yes, we've done a bit of research looking into the cost. The average price for one of these wind turbines would be approximately $15,000 just as itself. And based on the type of energy it would be offsetting would be typically wind. It would be able to put it back into the energy grid, preferably.
No, but in terms of the amount of energy each one of these would produce on average?
We don't know the exact number, but we can do further research and get back to you.
Great.
Trustee Markwart?
An unbelievable presentation, fantastic. In fact, actually, one of my loves to this would actually to put wind energy out there, which you have a concept of combining. I've personally have taken a look at wind energy for a place I have up north, and also I've been an individual in Delavan who actually sells grids, and they track the sun, and they're basically maintenance free. They automatically, windy days, they'll dip, and if they have snow cover on them, they automatically go through a spill off. I'm very interested in this. Again, my knowledge is minute. I've seen them, I've touched them, and I have some interest in it. To be honest, I'd be welcome to join your crew to figure it out myself. But turbines, as they are, the larger ones are $100,000. This concept is more pleasing and a lower profile on them. So the way I've seen it, fantastic job, and I'd be glad to help.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're correct. The verticals are much more eye-appealing, yes. Trustee Schultz?
I just got back from Portland, Maine, and actually I was at an organization that had a unit. The problem with the units is that it's an exponential curve, that the higher the wind speed, the more you generate, and the break-even point is somewhere around 18 to 20 miles an hour. And I never even thought about, but here it's only about 11 to 13 miles an hour. So you'd have a difficult time getting a payback. So you definitely need to pursue it from the educational aspect. With that being said, I love the idea of the center that you created. As a first step, though, I would love to see us do something by the train station. Instead of the $250,000 that we keep talking about to put a toilet in it at the train station, to go with the composting arrangement there and see how that in fact would work along with some solar panels. But I think developing the framework of an organization is really the first step that needs to take place. I can't give you any direction on how that would be accomplished. I think that would need to be a partnership, but it's definitely something well worth pursuing. They need to look at it, though, like I said, from an educational perspective more than a operational, profitable orientation. And with that being said, from whatever this chair can do to assist, love to give you a hand.
Thank you very much for your input. That's all.
Trustee Takaoka?
My first reaction when I saw this was that was one of the best pitches I've ever seen from two young kids like yourself, and that was awesome, number one. I think it's a great concept. Did you ever consider maybe collaborating? So I love this energy farm educational perspective. We've got IIT in the city, maybe U of I in Champaign. I'm assuming you guys are future engineers and physics majors. But, you know, Northwestern, I mean, go to those engineering programs, and you know what? I'd be more than willing to help you. And I think anyone else on this board would be willing to help you. Maybe pitch it to them. It's like, hey, what do you think of this concept? Use it for educational purposes. Hey, maybe go over to Stevenson High School. There's some really smart kids like yourself over there. You know, the more brains in the room, you know, a lot of ideas could be generated. And, you know, because they're part of the VHAC as far as, you know, the energy. I love the whole concept of the lights, because you're right. I've coached baseball, and, you know, the electric bills are huge, but I mean, if anything, I mean, again, a great pitch, but let me know anything I can do to help you guys.
Thank you very much. We will
Thank you.
definitely look further into that.
Mayor, you have anything you want to add? He's,
He's having difficulty hearing, so but
Okay.
when we take a break, we're going to recall him and
Okay.
move the microphones around.
okay. Yeah, I echo the sentiments of the board, and is this something we can have somebody as a staff liaison, maybe a little bit of time to help these guys navigate, you know, find somebody from staff that we could
Dave
connect with?
Brown, I mean, what's
Yeah.
your perspective on this, Dave, right? I mean, could do a feasibility. viability.
I'd also like to say, you know, as somebody who's been a teacher in this community for over 30 years, I'm often asked the question about what I think of students today. Here's the perfect example. Our education system is not in such bad shape, especially in this town. And these are two fine examples of exactly what I try to tell people I run into on a daily basis. And so, gentlemen, excellent job.
Thank you very much.
So, do you have anything else you want to add, or?
I feel like a lot of our questions were answered tonight. Like a big goal today was to see if the board would be supportive of this, if we should continue to further look into this.
So.
And thank you very much.
And Mr. Brown over there is our village engineer and public works director, and he's the perfect person for you to make connections with and see what we can do to help you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time today.
Okay, any other citizens wishing to address the board
We're going
on something that's not on?
We're going to try and get the mayor hooked up.
Okay.
Should we keep going? I mean, this is just
Well, it's,
announcements.
yeah. Do you want to keep going with some of the announcents now while we try to hook it up, or? what?
Yeah, you know, I can go ahead with some of the announcements because they're pretty,
So, hang on.
pretty bland here.
Hello?
Hi again, Raj.
Okay. Are we hooked up now?
I believe
Yeah.
so.
I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Roger, can you hear us?
Yeah, thank you.
All right, good. Okay.
Okay.
Before we wrap up, the previous thing that was here, the principal of our high schools here, I was just wondering was he here supporting you, or I wonder if he had any, did you have any comments you'd like to add?
I would love to just
Yeah,
approach if I could.
You certainly may.
Yeah, I didn't want to impose. So I'm John Gilliam, community member, and also principal of Vernon Hills High School. I was fortunate enough to hear Jack's pitch earlier, or I guess late spring, earlier in May. Was super impressed, as you guys were. You noticed in step one, the boys said that the first step there was to get support from both the village and the school. So I wanted to make sure that I was here tonight to let you guys know that we are in support of this endeavor as well. You know, we feel like there's great value in this real kind of world education concepts, and what these guys have come up with is top notch in terms of meeting a lot of different benchmarks for a learning experience like this. So we're happy to partner with the village in this. You know, you saw from his presentation, or the boys' presentations, that they've got stuff on our fields as well. The educational space they've got next to our tennis courts. that to say that we're happy to be a part of this as well and jump in at whatever level you guys want us to or need us to. So that was what I wanted to say. I'm proud of these guys, so.
Thank you.
Yeah, any questions for me?
No, thank you. I just
Yeah.
wanted-
Thank you.
If I could add one thing, a piece of advice to the boys is get this to all those people, all those bright and shining faces that you had up there, the two senators, the state senator, the state rep, get it in their hands immediately. The Vernon Township and Liberty Township supervisors also, I don't believe you had their faces up there, but another two people to include. But get it into their hands quickly.
Okay, so if there are no other citizens wishing to address the board, then we'll move on to the agenda. Village manager?
Yes, thank you, sir. I have a few announcements. Just a reminder, there's only going to be one village board meeting during the month of August. That meeting will be on Tuesday, August 14th, which is the second Tuesday in August. Since this is a departure from our normal board meeting schedule, I just want to make sure that everyone knows about the changes. Normally, we meet the first and third. This will be on the second. Also, as everyone knows, summer celebration is this week. So we have a very, very busy week ahead of us. The event opens at 6 o'clock on Thursday evening, July 19th. Henneberry will be taking the stage at 7 p.m., and the fireworks begin approximately at about 9:15. On Friday, the grounds open again at 6 p.m. with Modern Day Romeos and Mike and Joe providing the entertainment for the evening. And on Saturday, the 21st, the event opens at 1 o'clock in the afternoon with the carnival. We have kids' crafts and entertainment under the big tent. We have the James Barker Band taking the stage at 7 p.m. And at 9 p.m. is country star David Nail. Sunday is pretty much our family day. We have the grounds open again at 1 o'clock. We have kids' crafts most of the day from 1 to 5 under the main tent. We have a bag tournament, but that starts at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And we have karaoke takes place on the big stage at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So looking forward to a great week. The weatherman has said that the weather should be awesome, so I hope to see everybody out there.
Except for all the rain on Friday.
We don't talk about that. We don't talk about that.
Speaking of Friday, though,
30%.
don't forget, the American Legion will be hosting bingo Friday evening and Saturday afternoon and evening. So bring your money and be prepared to leave it with the AMVETs playing bingo.
I think they want to take some home, not necessarily leave it all, but. Okay, another announcement for the board and the community is that village staff, including our interim finance director and other finance staff, have met with District 73 representatives several times over the past couple of weeks. School district officials provided us with a very comprehensive review of their financial concerns, funding trends, expenditures, school overcrowding, and other issues that have led them to ask some serious financial questions. A copy of the PowerPoint that they've provided to us has been distributed at the dais. It's at your place, along with some information that the staff has put together. Staff also wanted to reconfirm the village's commitment to working with and supporting the district to help them find a solution to the issue of overcrowding. One of the recommendations that came out of our meeting, or our meetings, was the possibility of forming a liaison committee composed of 2 trustees from the village board, the school board, and the park district board to get together to discuss ways to help to address the problems that I've outlined above. If the board agrees with this recommendation, we would be seeking 2 board members to volunteer to serve as liaisons to this committee. And once we've identified all the volunteers, staff will work to try to set up the first meeting of the group. And we're certainly open to your comments and questions.
Well, let me take the lead on that. I've personally been in contact with a couple of the board members over there to talk to them to try and make sure we get a good connection there. And I would be happy if the rest of the board members would approve to serve as one of the liaisons, especially since I have a long history with the district.
And I actually would second to be also. It's very important, and love to be a part of it.
I think, Jim, I mean, you guys have a lot of, background and understanding over time of this issue. I mean, I know you have a great working knowledge as well. You two would be, I would think, ideal.
I have no problem
Okay.
being one of the members.
You and Trustee Cook, absolutely, because you guys,
Do we need any formal?
Is that because we're old?
No,
Is
this
that
is,
what you're
this is
saying?
going to be this is going to be a very informal group, and what we're trying to do
Subject
is
matter expert.
get away from some of the discussions that have taken place in the past and start to work together with the district and the Park District to try to move forward on these issues.
Yes, it was.
Okay. So I think what we have to do is decide on 2 out of the 3.
Mike was
Yeah,
volunteering.
Mike was actually volunteering, so,
oh,
Whichever, I can be
Your choice.
in whichever you wish. But I'll be glad to do it.
I'd be more than happy to do it, but I'll defer to
What-
the
what-
senior trustee, Mr. Mark Ward.
That's right, and I guess I am, all right.
okay, so it'll be trustee Mark Horton then. Okay.
Okay, we will get in touch with the school and the Park District, and when we have a committee together, we'll let you know, and we'll try to establish a mutually agreeable time.
Okay.
Thank you very much. I didn't think there'd be a problem getting people to volunteer for this one. Also, the last thing I wanted to talk about tonight, and again, I apologize for the expediency of this, but on Friday, June 27th, our last remaining full-time accountant resigned from the Village of Vernon Hills, and with the finance director's departure at the end of May and the assistant finance director moving to his new position a couple of weeks earlier, the village currently only has one part-time clerk working the finance department. We have a number of very high priority projects that are currently in the works. Our annual audit begins later this month. The new food and beverage tax goes into effect on September 1st, and the annual village budget process begins in October. Not to mention that the day-to-day functions such as payroll, invoice approvals, and accounts payable also need to continue uninterrupted. When we brought this issue before the board, when the finance director had resigned, we discussed the possibility of hiring an interim finance director using Lauterbach and Amen, who was our accounting firm for 14 continuous years, from I think like 2006 to 2014, somewhere around that time. Well, with the resignations of the 2 remaining full-time employees, I believe the village is in a very unique position to move in an entirely new direction. Staff has had the opportunity to speak with representatives from Lauterbach and Amen regarding these various options and the future of the finance department. After careful consideration of all of our options, I'm recommending that the village board consider modifying the current agreement that we have with Lauterbach and Amen, allowing them to provide full financial services to the village for the next 6 months. There's a whole number of advantages why I would propose doing that, but I think I've outlined those in the memo that you've already received. On the omnibus agenda for tonight is ordinance number 2018-117, requesting the modification of our original ordinance, which was 2018-105, expanding the scope of services with Lauterbach and Amen to include providing full financial services to the Village of Vernon Hills. I wanted to bring this up tonight. As I said, I apologize for the expediency, but since there's only one meeting in July and we only have one meeting in the middle of August, this is an issue that can't necessarily wait for another 4 to 6 weeks till we get it resolved. So it's on the agenda. We're here to answer questions tonight. Also, Nathan Gaskill, who is serving as our interim finance director from Lauterbach and Amen, is with us tonight to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay. Trustee Schultz.
Right now, I'm trying to look up the specific wording. Let me get closer to the microphone. So that I'm not seeing the 6-month within the scope of this ordinance.
I believe it's on their written proposal. They submitted like a 6 or 8 page
Okay.
proposal, which I provided to the board last Thursday, and it's on there.
Well, here's what I would prefer. I would prefer that it be stated specifically in the ordinance. So if a motion to amend the ordinance as presented here is appropriate, I'll take that under advisement. But before I ask that question specifically of the attorney, I'm of the opinion that the finance director should be an employee of the village. That position provides us guidance and a certain level of information, detailed responses to questions that while I understand that this firm is doing a fine job, the current individual that is charged with being our interim finance director could be offered a better position, a different position, and we would have, again, a rotation here. I would rather that we make a commitment to have that, a full-time employee, hold that position. I am not opposed at all to having the day-to-day operations be outsourced, so that, again, the services of Lauterbach and Amen providing the day-to-day manpower and oversight of doing the cutting of the checks and maintaining the general ledger and all those things. But I still would like to have a employee of the village reporting to the village manager, responsible to this board, to provide us guidance with regard to bonds, financial opportunities that may be out there, et cetera. So because we need to keep the wheels of the village moving forward, I have no problem going with a continuation of a 6-month contract here to, in fact, have all those services, because it'll take us the better part of 6 months anyway to find and fill that finance director position. So I have no problem with this particular, as long as it's stated and is clearly identified. And again, at this juncture, I can't find the specific verbiage that says that within the documents that I was provided. So with that being said, I'd just like to amend the document as provided as ordinance number 2018-117 with a specific end date of 7 months after it is initiated.
Well, we can do that by pulling it from the consent agenda, correct? And voting on it separately, which would allow us to amend it.
Then at this juncture,
When we get to that.
I pull my motion and just offer a request to pull item G, I believe it is,
Yes.
for a separate vote and separate discussion.
Okay. Trustee Markwart.
I'd like to just enter, I understand it's great to have a finance director, but the problem I think we see, or if we've read through, there are other areas too, other townships that are looking. We have, I think, North Chicago, Wheaton, Libertyville, Lake Zurich, and several more. And I believe it's going to end up, if we were trying to look for somebody, it'd probably be a little bit of a price war. So I would actually, for our village manager, would agree with doing a 6-month program. We'll see from there where it goes from there, whether it's additional or we find somebody to at that time. But I believe it's going to be difficult to find an individual at this time.
Trustee Takaoka.
Yeah, so I guess your concern, Jim, by not having a finance director full-time employed here, I'm trying to understand, what's the downside?
I look
Or the
at it
upside
as
versus
that
outsourcing.
individual provides us with a lot of insight and guidance as to what's going on statewide with regard to statutes and everything else. And that would be a permanent full-time employee that one would hope we would have a significant amount of tenure with this village. Again, I've worked with, I am a consultant, I've worked with consultants, I've worked under the circumstance that service providers, and there's always going to be a certain amount of turnover. And I like the idea of having a finance director that will provide a level of consistency in their guidance to us and their ability to provide us information. Earlier, I spoke with Village Manager Fleischauer about the situation that we had regarding human resources, and I thought it was a mistake years ago that we didn't have and continue to have a specific individual with a senior level of reporting structure to us governing human resources. We've since found that we do in fact need that person. I don't want to get into a situation later on where we say, yeah, we should have had a employee of the village that was responsible for providing us the guidance necessary.
Okay, well, I guess, I mean, we could discuss this at a later time, we could discuss this all night, but I guess working with an entity like them, to me, provides more subject matter expertise, a deeper bench of expertise. Turnover, anyone, full-time position, we saw a bunch of turnover. Turnover can happen no matter which direction we go. And then if you look at the economics, I think a lot of companies do outsource.
Yeah,
CFO position even.
And to address one of your concerns, I would agree with Trustee Takaoka. The turnover is exactly why we're in the position we're in right now.
Absolutely.
And that kind of turnover can, and that's what Trustee Marquardt is addressing, that kind of turnover can happen. I just think we're in a perfect situation right now where we're not going to be letting anybody go. There's nobody going to be upset that they're not being promoted. We're just in a perfect situation to try an outsource situation.
Well, like I said, I will vote in favor of a 6-month, but I am doing it under the caveat that I would expect that we continue to make significant progress towards hiring a full-time finance director at the end of that 6 months, or by the end of that 6-month period. If we don't, then I will not vote in favor of it going forward, should this contract need to be renewed.
Do you have anything else to add, Trustee? Otherwise, I'm going to go to...
Oh, no, I mean, I'm just, again, I would support outsourcing the entire position.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Well, I'd concur with Trustee Takaoka. I think there's much greater advantage to having this outsourced in terms of the depth of knowledge, the decreased costs, the ability to have someone cover. I think it's a different situation than the human resources situation where that person needs to interact at a more intimate level with all the employees as opposed to the finance director, in my opinion.
Finances are our lifeblood.
Well, they are our lifeblood.
It's all about...
But it's not as much about the personal interactions that a human resources person who needs to know the people involved as opposed to the numbers. And also you commented on things that are happening on the state level. I would imagine that a large company would have a greater basis of knowledge for those type of things, and they would all have all of their resources to pull from instead of just relying on the one or two or three people that might need to do some continuing education to learn some of those things.
Yeah.
They would...
And that's why I don't have a problem utilizing the resources for the day-to-day operation, but I'd still want an oversight that is, in fact, a village employee sworn allegiance to this, this body.
I think if
Village
they're-
Attorney Hunt.
If they're accepting the job, then they're swearing allegiance to us, and I don't
The
think
corporation is swearing allegiance,
Yeah.
not any individual,
Okay.
because the individuals can in fact come and go.
Attorney Hunt.
So a couple of points to hopefully make everyone feel a little bit more comfortable with this. One, I had a lengthy discussion with our finance director about many of these same issues. And one of the things that they bring to the table that an individual hiring process doesn't necessarily bring is they recruit from a different universe of people. They're not just looking at other village finance directors or whatever that are looking to make a lateral move or a step up, or assistant directors that are looking to better their own career. And so there is that, a sort of a different depth of knowledge that can come there. But more to the point of providing some level of comfort for the board, obviously, you know, the ordinance is the ordinance, the proposal is the proposal. Ultimately, this is going to require an amendment to the existing agreement that we have with Lauterbach. And part of that, given the fact that this is going forward, is probably necessarily going to entail some sort of a notice requirement. Right now, an employee leaves, they give you 2 weeks' notice, you know, under the best circumstances sometimes. We have the ability here to require that Lauterbach, if they're going to change the roster, if somebody is going to leave, that we get a longer period of time of notice so that we're able to accommodate and adjust to some of those things. The other thing is they can provide us with a pool of a couple people that they're considering for a prospective position, and give us the opportunity to interview some of those folks and figure out who's going to be the best fit from a style, personality-wise, what have you, to put that together. So I think there's some things we can do in terms of that agreement that can sort of, you know, minimize some of the concerns at least.
Does the mayor want to
Address some.
address this issue, or is he still? Mayor, do we know if we're still connected? Doesn't sound like it.
Says we're on. Roger, can you hear?
Yeah, go ahead.
Your thoughts?
Your thoughts on the finance?
Any comments regarding the financial services contract on the omnibus agenda for?
Well, other than that, yeah, I'd certainly keep Lauterbach and Amon in place for at least the next 6 months. And I didn't hear what Larry said. Larry, did you give any salient thoughts on this discussion?
Larry?
Larry's not here this evening.
Oh, well, that answers that, okay. Well, you know, if we can, here's the bottom line. I mean, we've had a finance director, and Larry, for example, went back to 84, I think, before I was even a trustee. And everything worked well until Larry retired. Hey, can we get in that same situation again? Yeah, maybe we can. I would hope we can, you know. And, you know, I'd certainly want to ask for the expertise of Larry and the folks from, you know, Lauterbach and Amon, you know, to give us an assist on that, you know. And my thoughts are, too, you know, also, you know, okay, what is the finance director's duties and responsibilities going to be? And I think that's critical to just go back to, you know, you don't have to worry about being the computer chief, or you don't have to be worried about being, you know, the human resource guru, okay? And if I'm wrong in what Larry did before, somebody tell me. But if we can get back to, okay, he's our chief financial officer, and if that's what direction we're going to take, great, you know. But you know, I don't necessarily want to be, you know, get in the same situation we just got out of, you know. And I think everybody understands what I'm talking about. And you know, it's something that you know, you should, you know, it seemed to me in the past, again, in the last, you know, let's say half year here, somebody was being groomed to be in a higher capacity other than the finance director. And we should all collectively, I think, agree on what that individual's duties and responsibilities should be, and then we'll go forward. Again, I don't have a problem going out, and doing a search, but, as we stand right now, I think we gotta go with, keeping Lauterbach in, for the next 6 months.
Okay.
That's all I got.
Anything else from?
Did anybody hear anything I said?
Yep.
Yes.
Heard it all.
Yes, we did.
Oh, okay. All right, but again, it worked well for many moons. So, and it can work well again. It's just, we gotta decide, what the individual's duties and responsibilities would be, so. And I think we can do that, we can find somebody.
Okay, anything else from staff on this right now, because it's going to be up later?
No, sir.
Okay, anything else from the board?
No.
Okay, this will be under, we'll pull this from omnibus.
Item G, pull it
Yeah,
for a separate
well,
vote.
when we'll get there, yeah. Next item, Assistant Village Manager.
Thank you. On the consent agenda is resolution number 2018-041, also item number F. It's for the Lake County, Illinois Genealogical Society requesting to authorize a 3-year extension of their lease for the lower level of the Village Hall for its reading room and material storage. Their current lease expires this year. They were just granted a three-year extension in 2015. And this resolution would simply extend that existing lease with the same terms for an additional 3 years, which would result in it expiring on August 20th, 2021. The lease terms include $100 per month, as well as a 120-day termination clause for either party as part of this agreement.
So you're looking for, this is a 3-year extension to what we already have?
Correct.
And there's a 120-day escape clause for either party.
Yes.
Any comments from the board? Okay. No, we're happy to help with this. Okay, anything else, Assistant Village Manager? No? Right, Chief, you had a couple?
Thank you, Mr. President. Just a couple brief comments. I wanted to remind the community that since this is our last meeting before the National Night Out, I'd like to remind everyone that Tuesday, August 7th, is the National Night Out from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. We hold that at Hartman Park over on Oakwood. It's a free event open to the public. It's a wonderful event. It's part of a nationwide series of events. I would invite everyone to come, bring their children, bring an appetite. We've got some great sponsors again, and we're going to be feeding everyone that's there. So, secondly, on a slightly different public safety note, I'd remind everyone that next Wednesday, July 25th, the Vernon Hills Police Department is going to be participating in an endeavor called Speed Awareness Day, and we can all guess what that means coming from the Chief of Police. So the Illinois Chiefs of Police are going to be out there. We'll have extra officers out in the community that day, making sure that there's vigilant enforcement of our speed laws. And then for all of you Chicago Bear fans may have remembered that this board approved a special event that's coming up August 22nd. I would just remind members that tomorrow morning, the free tickets for that event are being made available on the Chicago Bears website, 10 a.m. They will go quickly, so it's a great chance to come to the Vernon Hills High School and see something special if you're a football fan. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Okay, anything else from staff? Any staff members? Okay, the next item would be omnibus vote agenda, and Trustee Schultz, you want G pulled?
Yes, sir.
So it would be A through F and H.
Motion to approve those.
Okay, motion second to approve A through F and H. Any comments or questions from the board? Hearing none, roll call, please.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item G, is the approval and passage of ordinance 2018-117, ordinance amending 2018-105, approving a contract between Lauterbach and Amen LLP in the Village of Vernon Hills for accounting and financial oversight services.
I'd like to amend that to read, effective date.
Excuse
Hang on a second, Attorney Hunt.
Trustee Schultz, excuse me
Yes.
for interrupting.
No, please do.
In looking at this, it strikes me what Lauterbach is really looking for at this point is direction. And as long as we give them the direction this evening, we certainly can fine-tune the actual agreement, have that ready for the next board meeting, as well as present a ordinance in the form that you're talking about so that it's got that sunset date within it and put that on the August agenda. And I think that still gives Lauterbach, as long as there's a clear definition this evening of go forward in that direction, I think that provides them with what they need.
All right, so basically you're suggesting that we table item G till the next meeting?
With direction for the village attorney to prepare the contract with Lauterbach and revise the ordinance in accordance with the
With
comments
a
this evening.
specific, so I make a motion then to table it with the caveat that the revised ordinance
Well,
would
it's-
have a specific sunset date of January 17th, 2019, if that's acceptable to all the parties.
Looking at this is a 6-month term.
Okay, there's a motion made. One point of clarification, does that hamper anything in terms of the business of the village between now and August the 14th?
Between now and August 14th, no, but the sunset date is right smack at the beginning of our budget hearings for the village.
Budget hearings are typically in March.
Externally. The public hearings are in March, but internally, they begin the week after Christmas.
You know, you're talking about staff,
Internally, correct, reviewing all the documents and preparing all the documents.
which
that-
would then behoove you to have a finance director on board prior to that sunset date.
If that's the direction we go.
Another option, just to throw it out, might be to tag the 6-month permanent period onto the existing 6-month temporary period, which would then take you roughly to May 1st, the beginning of a new year, and avoid all the budget issues. Just an idea.
I'm not in favor of that. I'd like to see us pursue with all earnestness the.
Well, what's the board's pleasure? Should we go with what trustee Hunt just said and then vote it up or down? I mean, Attorney Hunt, sorry. Didn't mean to elect you.
Yes, sure. Attorney Hunt.
My error.
I like how he worded it, and I would venture the way Attorney Hunt has expressed it.
So clarify for me where we're at here now. Are we looking for a motion to go with, or are we waiting till the August meeting?
Or he can.
I think
Just get it.
probably the cleanest way to do this is to simply by consensus give an indication to Lauterbach that you're going forward with using them on a more permanent basis for a 6-month period. You can then separate that and have a separate discussion as to whether to direct staff to pursue the hiring process or a different direction. And that would.
Trustee Oppenheim.
So I want to make sure we give ourselves the
Oh,
opportunity.
wait, can we step away from the curve for a second? We're not making a decision tonight or on the 14th to start the whole search process.
Correct.
But we are making a decision tonight to extend the contract for 6 months, which I have no problem with, provide the
Yeah,
fact
that's fine.
that we
But-
move
but
forward.
With that said, I mean, then we'll have to talk collectively about, going out and doing the search, for a real, a full-time finance director. But, I think we gotta see how this scenario plays out to some extent.
Correct.
Because obviously it's been pretty successful in any number of other towns.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm not adverse to getting a finance director, but I'm not adverse, to using an independent contractor to be basically run our finance department.
Well, and that seemed to be, that seemed to be the consensus of the board here tonight, too, was that this is a good opportunity to test this and see how it works.
that was the comment I was going to make. I don't,
Well, and plus we can certainly have conversations with some of the other towns that have taken this direction for several years now or longer. So, yeah, I mean, again, that's how I feel about it, since I guess the bottom line is I'm going to wind up appointing somebody or not. Okay?
Just vote on it.
Trustee Oppenheim.
well, I just want to make sure we don't
Alright, so
box
by
ourselves in.
Yeah, well, okay, let's go forward, and does it need to be tabled tonight, or do we just need to do the ordinance?
I have no problem making a motion to do the ordinance. My only thing is I want to ensure, because the paperwork I have in front of me does not state 6 months. It just says the effective
Okay.
date. So I want to make sure that this is 6
But I mean,
months.
is there any reason we can't vote on, the concept of retaining them tonight?
No.
For 6 months.
What is the termination
okay.
clause period in this contract?
Nathan, I'll defer to you.
I
if
mean,
you
I
have
don't
that.
have a problem this being on the omnibus vote agenda tonight.
Well, we're already past that.
Yeah, we're past that.
But we can vote on this, though.
Yeah, we can post,
What you have in the packet,
Okay, well,
Go ahead.
somebody making a motion or
Well,
something?
hang on, we're
we're
getting a
still
clarification.
discussing.
We're close on it, Mayor.
what you have in the packet is actually a proposal, it's not a formal contract. So the details of that contract, like Keith was mentioning, the sunset period or a termination clause is still on the table to be included. So 6 months or like a standard termination clause for a contract of this size would probably be 90 days at a minimum for both parties. In Glenview, it's 180 days, but it's bigger.
So then it sounds like tonight the motion would be to prepare the contract for the August meeting.
Yeah.
With the
But we
6
need,
month-
but they need to know how to prepare it in some respects.
with the 6 months.
Well,
So we
Right.
can vote.
So I,
So if I can suggest that, to break it up into three pieces. One, does everyone want to go forward with Lauterbach at providing full-fledged financial services? Number two, should that be limited to a 6-month period? And I guess the flip side of that is number three, which is,
Extend that from the 6 months.
is there a desire to start a search either now or at some point after, maybe 90 days from now, after we see how this is working?
Well, should we poll the board on?
so I don't want to commit to starting to look. I think it's a waste of our time if this works out well. I think we should give it the opportunity. And then as long as we have a 90 or 120 day out clause or 180 days, whatever it ends up being, then we can always say this isn't working out. We'll start looking, but we've got 180 days to
Well,
find
right,
someone.
right now, hang on a second, Mayor, we're polling the board right now.
I have no problem with 2018-117 as long as there is an effective and a end date
Okay.
for this particular ordinance, because basically by passing this ordinance, and correct me if I'm wrong, Attorney Hunt, but we are basically approving the contract between Lauterbach Amon and ourselves for this service. And I just want to ensure that at this juncture, tonight, we're only agreeing to a 6-month period. We can continually address this over the next 6 months, but at the end of 6 months, we'll either renew it if everybody's on board,
Okay,
or we will
I
have.
agree with that.
We, and I have no problem, I don't think we need to start going ahead looking. I would rather we see how this
See
works
how it
and then move
works.
forward. Trustee Markwart?
I agree. I think we have the opportunity in the future to take a look at
And-
this, but
and-
not
and
right now.
Chief, I'm gonna, Mark, not the other chief, there's two chiefs, Mark, and will Larry hang around?
Larry will hang around for some determined period of time, but I'm not sure how long.
He has
All right,
a
well,
limited number
that
of
would
hours.
give me some peace of mind too, because obviously he knows these people from, them doing 14 years worth of audits for us. So, but Larry's opinion is important to me, and I would think it would be important to most of the board. And, so I would certainly like him to, keep his, keep his foot in the water, okay?
Yes, sir. And Larry has no plans to be moving out of state anytime soon.
And to finish our,
Well, that's nice to know. Okay, is this gonna be voted on now?
well, hang on, we want to finish our consensus here. Trustee Taco.
Okay, so maybe instead of end, trustee Schultz, just say a review after 6 months. So we'll just review what had transpired the previous 6. If we feel that we need to pursue a full-time position, so be it. If we feel
Well,
there's
by
not necessary, we don't.
By having a specific sunset date, it'll force us to review it.
Well, no, I don't think you need to have an absolute end date. Just say a review date after a review after 6 months, and then we go
Well,
from there.
let's just go ahead and word it, and then we'll vote on it.
Yeah, that's fine.
So, Attorney Hunt, what would you like us to have the motion say?
It would be appropriate.
Just this resolution, as is?
Yeah, to approve going forward and directing the attorney to draft an agreement with Lauterbach and Amen to provide services on an ongoing basis. And, if there's an amendment to that for the sunset provision, you can deal with it that way.
Well, reviewed in, I like Trustee Takaoka's, to be reviewed in 6 months.
Fine.
Is there a motion to that extent?
And as a practical matter, you always have that ability anyway, given that there's going to be a
Anytime.
90-day out
Yeah,
clause.
yeah,
So if it's not
exactly.
working out,
Exactly.
you can get going with that earlier or whenever's appropriate, if appropriate.
Is there a motion to
There
that?
is, I motion exactly what you had stated.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion, a second. Any other comments? Did you have any? No. Okay. All right, then a roll call, please.
Did the mayor hear that? I want to make sure.
Yeah, I heard that.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
roll call, please.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
No.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye. Motion carries.
Doesn't he get the vote?
Well,
No.
only to break ties, or for on the record. Mayor, did you want to?
Because you're the chairperson.
Well, but I'm,
But
So isn't he voting?
yeah, Mayor, did you want to be on the record on that one?
Yeah, sure, aye.
Okay. Ayes have it.
All right.
Moving on.
Next thing would be unfinished additional business, approval of the village board meeting minutes of June 19th, 2018. Is there a motion to approve?
So made.
Second.
Motion is second. Any comments, questions, corrections? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Takaoka? Aye. Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Motion carries. Item B, approval and passage of Resolution 2018-040, a resolution granting approval to operate an outdoor special event for the Kelly Miller Circus located at 100 South Milwaukee Avenue.
Just to remind the board, this was considered at the COW meeting on June 19th. There'd be no animals involved. All the votes except one were in the affirmative. One vote was present, and that's why it's on unfinished business.
Okay. So is there a motion to approve?
A motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Any comments or questions? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Trustee Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, any other items under unfinished business?
We were supposedly looking for the potential of putting out a RFP. Do we have a status update on that?
Sure. It was published and put out to everyone who had expressed interest. I had sent out an email prior to that to basically all the regular players in this arena.
This is for the
Yeah,
village
which
attorney.
position?
Yeah,
attorney,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
There's
RFP
two
for village
positions
attorney.
we're talking about here.
Sorry, yeah, this is for the village attorney position. A formal RFP, RFQ went out in the same form that I had circulated to the board previously, seeking input. And that's gone out. The deadline for submissions, I believe, is July 31st.
Okay.
And after that, all of those submissions will be collected. They can then be culled, interviews can start, and go forward with that.
Thank you.
Have we received any so far?
We received one, but it was in advance of receiving the formal requirements of what's there, so it didn't necessarily provide all the information that the RFQ is seeking. But that law firm was sent a copy of the RFQ and encouraged to resubmit.
Trustee Takaoka.
Oh, we're on other items, right? New business.
Oh, on, you're separate, is there anything else on this particular issue?
An unfinished business.
Oh, unfinished.
Okay, then,
Now,
under communication?
Yeah.
New business or communication? Trustee Takaoka.
Oh, yeah, I just want to make mention, we have a resident, Dan Walsh, and his business partner, Carol Digman. They have a restaurant opening on August 6th, Monday, Scotty's on Milwaukee. It's about 3 doors down from Bluefish. They have a restaurant in Lake Bluff, and Scotty's on Sheridan. It's a fabulous restaurant, so just want to let everyone know that they'll be opening August 6th.
Thank you. Any other new business communication? I had a couple of things. One, Peyton Newman, who was one of our queens here, recently won, I believe it's Miss Outstanding Teen for the state of Illinois, and I believe she's headed to a national competition this Thursday, I believe, to compete at the national level on that. So her family sent us all an email. I've been in contact with the family. We're going to probably invite them to the August 14th meeting because that'll be after she's had a chance to compete at the national level as well. And then we might want to take a look at, depending upon how she does at national, maybe some kind of signage recognizing an accomplishment at a state level, as we've done in the past. And congratulations to Peyton on winning that state competition. And also, I'd like to perhaps have us, we've gotten a couple of emails. Does anybody on staff know offhand when our contract renewal is up with Not So Advanced Disposal?
The contract with Advanced Disposal expires November 30th, 2020.
2020. Because lately there've been, again, a few more emails on that. Perhaps we could do a survey or something, or put something on the website so that we can get some information to maybe pass on to them about some of these problems that apparently are occurring. So,
Certainly. I'll schedule a meeting with them, with their rep, and we can talk through those issues, and
okay.
welcome to invite any trustees that want to participate.
Anybody else?
Do we have an internal formal complaint line, or is it just someone has an issue, call you, or how is this working?
So typically, individuals have called Lynn Deanda, and we've raised those issues up to the Advanced Disposal's route supervisor, who manages the individuals who are driving the routes. These typically range from missed pickups to yard waste or those things. We also a log of complaints is submitted to the village from Advanced Disposal on a quarterly basis that identifies Vernon Hills residents who've called regarding various issues. Most of them have been billing related, and those are just been billing questions.
Okay, thank you. Trustee Schultz.
Yeah, I was just looking at calendars, and because we only have the one meeting in August, and hopefully everybody will be here, but we are a trustee down and everything. I just want to confirm that we're still planning on meeting on the day after Labor Day, the 4th, and that we have no problems with it, so we don't run into a situation like we had a couple weeks ago.
Our meeting on the 4th or the 5th? I thought it was scheduled for the 5th.
I've got it at the 4th, but I have the second meeting of the month on the Wednesday due to the religious holiday that's on the Tuesday.
I thought I remember reading that we had moved that meeting to the, does anybody have?
Am I in, if I'm in error, please let me know.
It was published as the 5th, I believe, which is a Wednesday.
I'd have to look. I'd have to check with Lynn tomorrow
Okay.
and see what the approved dates are.
Okay.
Although I think that may be what Dave is going to do right now.
Okay. But yeah, we can come back to that, yeah. Anything
I
else
think the
under
list of
new
dates is
business
published
communication?
on our bulletin board out in the lobby.
Is the guy's good glasses on or is bad
Okay.
glasses?
If there's nothing else under new business communication, do we have to go into closed session this evening? No? All right. Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn the board and go to committee of the whole.
So made.
Second?
Okay, motion is second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Aye.
Trustee Cook? Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Okay, I'd like to call the committee of the whole meeting to order. First item of business is approval of the committee of whole meeting of minutes of June 19th, 2018. Is there a motion to approve?
Motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, the website shows September 5th and 17th.
Thank you.
Why is it the 5th and not the 4th?
Because of the holiday on
The
Monday, we
holiday.
gave
People
everybody an
coming
extra
back
day.
from Labor Day.
Yeah.
Going back, I motion it.
Yeah, I have a motion to approve the
Second.
committee. I need a second.
Second?
Okay. Any corrections, comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye?
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is a request from Massage Envy for approval to waive separation requirements from a massage establishment located at 700 North Milwaukee Avenue.
Thank you, and as the board is aware, the COW considered a similar request from Massage MV at its meeting on June 19th for a space that would be located in Melody Farm. That request included a waiver to allow the massage establishment within 1,000 feet of a residential use and within 300 feet of a business that's licensed to sell alcohol. At the night of that meeting, the COW denied their request and encouraged the applicant to consider alternate locations within the village. The applicant has done so and has found a space in Hawthorne Square. That's, as you know, the shopping center that has Dick's Sporting Goods in it. And they're proposing to locate in the space that's currently occupied by Mattress Firm. So Mattress Firm then would leave that location. That's one positive that would come out of this. This location would also comply with the 1,000-foot separation requirement from residential uses, but it would be within 289 feet of Scotty's, which we just heard about earlier. So they would require a waiver from that requirement, that 300-foot requirement to allow a massage establishment within 300 feet of an establishment that's licensed to sell alcohol. So if the COW believes this request is appropriate, staff should be directed to prepare an ordinance waiving the separation requirements for massage establishments as set forth in Section 10-122, Parent 3 of the Vernon Hills Code of Ordinances, allowing a massage establishment to be located 289 feet from a business licensed to sell alcohol. And the applicant is, I'm sorry, the business owner is here to answer any questions that you may have.
Do you want to go ahead and state your name for the record and we'll,
Claire Bray.
And I'm Peter Bray.
okay. Trustee Schultz.
Seeing as how I spoke the loudest and the longest against them at Melody Farms, let me speak in favor of them this time and move to allow them to operate in this facility and waive the 11 feet, is it?
So isn't it 1 foot?
Yes, it's 11 feet.
Oh, it's 11.
So therefore, I make a motion to provide the,
I-
to direct staff to prepare the necessary ordinance for the required waiver from a alcohol serving establishment.
And I will second it.
Motion is second. Trustee Oppenheim.
So we're changing it from 300 feet to 289 feet?
That's correct.
Right.
This-
But they're 299 feet away, is that the issue?
They're required to be 300 feet, and
Right.
we're going to waive that requirement to allow this establishment to be 289 feet away.
I'm just curious, so how far away are they?
289 feet, so they're
You are-
11 feet too close.
Yeah,
So you're 280, okay.
11.
But this is not changing the ordinance.
No, I just thought it would have been funny if they were 1 foot off, but it's 11
The
feet. No, it's
original
less
Was
than
that
ordinance
to the
stays.
edge of Scotty's, or was that to the door?
It's measured from door to door.
Oh.
It would not amend the ordinance. It would allow a waiver specific
waiver.
for Massage Envy
Yeah.
at this specific location.
The ordinance remains at 300 feet.
That's correct.
This is a waiver.
This is a waiver.
Correct.
Any other comments or questions?
Stand my ground.
Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye, and thank you for filling in an empty space in our existing shopping centers. Thank you.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next item, request for an outdoor dining and seating establishment permit for Whole Foods Market located at 851 North Milwaukee Avenue.
Thank you, and I can provide a brief summary on this as well. Whole Foods, which, as we all know, will be located in Melody Farm Shopping Center, is requesting an outdoor dining license. The area of the dining would be on the east side of the building. It would consist of 7 tables with a seating capacity for 28 customers. There would be a fence that would be located around the perimeter that would separate the public from people that may be consuming alcohol. There would be 2 self-closing, self-latching gates at each end of the enclosure. And the fence would consist of a gray aluminum material that matches the material on the canopy of the building, and it would be 3 foot 6 inches tall. So if the COW feels this request is appropriate, staff should be directed to prepare a resolution approving the outdoor dining license, subject to the conditions that are outlined in your packet.
Okay, are there any questions or concerns from the board? This is pretty much in compliance with all of our other,
Yes, it is. In particular, the fencing requirements and gate requirements for those types of establishments that serve alcohol outside.
The only issue is because he's putting up umbrellas, to remind the petitioner that we have a no marketing requirement on umbrellas. They need to be plain, no, whatever it is, Frizzoli or whatever the Italian beverage is that seems to get
Is
so
it-
much.
Are they allowed to have their own name on it?
No, no.
We do have copies, we attached to your packet
Right,
copies
it's
of the umbrella.
blank, but
They
I-
show no verbiage whatsoever, no
Right,
graphics,
right.
nothing like that.
And we fully intend to be in full compliance with the ordinances of the village.
okay. Any other questions or comments from the board?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion approved and second been made. Since there are no other comments or questions, a roll call, please.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next item, Panda Express, a concept presentation for a special use permit to allow a Panda Express restaurant with drive-through at the Hawthorne Village Commons.
Thank you, Your Honor. Representatives from Pan Express are here this evening to present their concept plans for a special use for a drive-through Pan Express to be located at Hawthorne Village Commons. As you can see on the image before you, this will be located adjacent to the Hobby Lobby. Panda Express is proposing to create a 38,000 square foot outlot, where they would construct a 2,200 square foot building, which would include 54 seats. It would also include 74 parking stalls. As part of this, because they're requesting a drive-through, special use is required. They are proposing a total of 7 stacking spaces to the pickup window. Obviously, they're here before you to answer any questions you may have, and they've also included some imagery of some of their newer Panda Express models that they have recently constructed.
Okay, and again, this is strictly a concept presentation. This would still have to go through technical review and planning and zoning.
Yes.
Comments from the board without trustee Hebda here, so.
I have no problem. I love Panda Express. I'm one of your better customers. I probably have it 25 times a year. So I'm all in favor. Now I don't have to get my butt out of
Would
the
this
car.
be an additional location, or would you be closing the other one in town?
I don't know if I have the information to answer that question. It's not that I don't want to answer it, I'm just not privy to that information.
I thought it was in the packet that the one in
That's why I
Greg's
just wanted to
Landing
confirm.
Marketplace.
This one would be,
The store that's by Staples, so you can hear me. The stores by Staples will be closing. And I think your concept is to have a freestanding, and this is what you're presenting to us.
That's what I was just confirming, yeah.
This is a relocation for a bigger space with a drive-through.
Yep.
And if you want to see similar stores, we're opening one in Niles in about 4 weeks, and one in Downers Grove in about 3 weeks, and one open in Huntley in about 3 weeks ago already. So just the same design and the same
I have
concept.
no problem with it.
Okay. So do we need a motion to tell them to go ahead, or is this just board?
Tom?
Motion and a voice vote is fine for concept approval.
Okay.
Tom, you have a light.
Oh, a light, sorry. Trustee Oppenheim.
So I'm not a traffic expert, but I have some concerns about the stacking in the location in regards to the stop sign that's in front of the Bobos there. I don't know if that's an issue, but it seems like sometimes that,
Thank you for raising that as a point. We can look at that. Should this move forward, we'll certainly look at some of the traffic circulation issues too.
That would be a focus at technical review.
is that
and then-
later on? Okay. 'Cause I was wondering, I don't know if it were an issue, maybe they'd move it to the southeast corner instead of the southwest
Yeah,
corner of
just
that
move
lot.
it over.
Potentially, that would give more space for people. Because if there are enough people in line there, then it could block that spot, but, and then totally block off the access to the hobby
Sure.
lot.
So as part of the should it go to technical review, we'll ask for queuing analysis and information on some of their other stores and what is the stacking, and then we'll count and see whether it impacts that intersection also.
Okay.
And may I ask, is this one of your new prototypes, the picture?
Yes, it is.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, and then is there a motion to,
Direct the petitioner
Direct
to
the
move
petitioner
forward
move forward
with
with the
technical
project.
review.
And then you have to give your speech.
Correct.
is there a motion, or who's
Why
second?
don't you go ahead and vote on the
Okay,
motion?
motion is
You should
second.
make the motion, since you're the expert.
Motion to direct the petitioner to move forward to technical review for the next steps in the process of getting full approval of the site.
And I second it.
And now, Attorney Hunt.
Why don't you go ahead?
No,
and
we
vote
need to
first?
have.
We got to vote on it.
Oh,
Vote first,
okay.
and then I'll.
Oh, okay, all right. Roll call, please.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Motion carries. Now, Attorney.
Okay, gentlemen, you realize that what we've given tonight is concept approval, which means that the board is supportive of the concept and the general location, but in no way is this a guarantee of any future approvals or that you're ultimately going to receive approval for the project. You need to work diligently with staff and with the other consultants to ensure that you meet all of our codes and regulations, that you meet all of our bulk requirements for the site, and that you otherwise comply with essentially what you're going to be required to do under zoning code.
Right, correct, we understand.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. Next item, Vernon Hills Park District, Century Park expansion, consideration of report and recommendations from the Planning and Zoning Commission regarding various items, including the rezoning and site plan for property located at 950 Lakeview Parkway, former OPA property.
Thank you, Your Honor. Representatives from the Park District are here this evening and also appeared before the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting last week, Wednesday, on July 11th, to present their plans to redevelop the former OPA site, or OPA restaurant, at 950 Lakeview property, and to rezone it from B1 General Business to Conservation Open Space, consistent with the adjacent park. The commission voted 3-0 to 1, with Commissioner Blue abstaining, to approve these items. There's several conditions of approval listed in your packet. There was just a minor adjustment to the location of the sidewalk adjacent to the restroom. However, otherwise, they were very supportive of it and found it consistent to be with the surrounding properties. If the committee of the whole feels the request is appropriate, it is recommended that staff be directed to prepare the necessary ordinance, granting approval to amend the zoning classification from B1 to Conservation Open Space, as well as the preliminary and final site plan approvals, all of which subject to the compliance with the conditions of approvals listed in your packets.
Okay. Trustee Schultz.
What's the exterior materials?
On the
On
proposed
the,
restroom?
yeah, I'm sorry, on the restroom. I'm sorry, I'm looking at, you're not.
Yeah. We just opened the bids today, so we'll be presenting those options to the park board tomorrow evening. They came in a little over budget, so I'm sure we're going to be doing a little VE work on that restroom. The original design had some brick facade, had a metal roof, so.
That would be great, some kind of hard material. I mean, the sketches that were provided here kind of look like siding or even hardy board, but I prefer brick or, I don't have a problem with split face, easy for you to say, split face block, but I don't know what the rest of the board or the planning and zoning guys, but whatever, some kind of hard material.
Yep.
It would be appreciated.
By the way, I forgot to ask you to
So
identify
Jeff,
yourself.
Jeff Fugere, Executive Director of the Vernon Hills Park District. And I'm excited about going to Scotty's and then getting a massage afterwards. That sounds like a good night out.
And it's 11 feet closer than you would have.
That's true.
Any other comments or questions from the board?
Motion to direct staff.
I got a question.
Sure. Mayor?
Where are we at? Can I speak?
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
Roger, we're hearing you.
Yeah,
Go
Jeff.
ahead, Mayor.
Jeff, where are we at on paying off the, the loan we gave you for the YMCA building?
So that loan is right around $800,000 that's still owed to the village. And the payback on that commences in December of 2019.
Okay, so that's on schedule.
Correct.
Okay, just asking. All right,
So,
I don't have any more questions.
Okay.
okay.
Obviously, we helped you buy this property, so you guys doing something positive there is great,
Yeah, I think we're all excited about it. I think it's going to really add a real nice feature to Century Park, to the entrance of the park at that corner. There's a nice plaza.
Okay.
Yeah, that.
Motion
Tom,
to,
you're in charge again. I'll be quiet.
Okay.
motion to direct staff to prepare the necessary ordinance to move forward with this project.
Second.
Motion a second. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markward?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye.
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, next item. Cook Memorial Public Library District, 701 Aspen Drive, concept presentation for a special use to amend the plan unit development and amend the site plan of the Cook Memorial subdivision to allow for the construction of a library expansion.
Thank you, Your Honor. The library is here tonight to present their proposal to expand their library. They're proposing a 15,000 square foot addition on the northeast portion of the building. This addition will include 7,500 square feet of usable space on the ground floor, as well as a 7,500 square feet of basement space, set aside for future development. Part of this expansion will be utilized for a dedicated children's wing, larger quiet space for adults, as well as additional study rooms and rooms for high school age students. In addition to the building expansion, there will be 21 additional parking spaces added, which will allow the expansion to take place without requiring any additional parking variations. At this evening, they're also requesting a waiver of fees for building and technical review. This is consistent with the past development of the library, as well as our partnerships with the Park District and other governmental entities. They're here this evening to answer any questions.
Okay, would you like to introduce yourself?
Thank you, trustees.
Who's there from the library district?
They're about to introduce themselves.
Thank you, Mayor. Trustees, thank you for having us tonight. I'm David Archer, Director of the Cook Memorial Public Library District. I have Nathan Johnson, sorry, Mayor.
Sure. It's, well, nice to not see you, but nice to talk to you.
Thank you.
But with that said, at some point, can we change the name from, the Aspen Drive Library to the Vernon Hills Library? You know what I mean? As far as putting Vernon Hills in the name of the library. I'm sure you can. It's a matter of voting on it.
I'm sure our board would be eager to discuss that, Mayor.
Yeah, well, that'd be great,
Hey, Roger, how about Roger Byrne Memorial?
Trustee Takayoko. No.
Actually, I was hoping that the basement might be named the Roger Byrne and Aaron Lawler basement, seeing as how we pushed so hard before to get the basement built, but glad you're building it now.
We did a lot for the library. I'd just like to see our name on the building. Everybody knows it's on Aspen Drive.
Sure. Thank you, Mayor. Also,
I don't get it. That's all I got. I hope this comes off and it'll be nice, so.
thank you. And then Nathan Johnson, who's our Vernon Hills trustee, is here tonight. And then from Product Architecture and Design, Dan Port and Tiffany Nash are here. I personally just wanted to thank the village staff and our partners with the Park District and the school district for working with us on this parcel of land. There's been a lot of development in that area, and I can't say enough how happy we are working with the village and the support that you've given us. Of course, the land, as the mayor mentioned, was donated to have this building constructed. We had a 50-space parking lot added on Lot 2, which is village-owned, so we're eager to continue that partnership with the village.
Can I ask Assistant Village Manager Carey, what's the value of the fees and permits, the estimated value, just for the record?
I would base off the value of the construction, so we'd have to have those numbers first before we could have a estimate.
Do you guys have a budget right now that you're shooting for at least?
All in, $6.75 million. That would include contingency, all professional services. Yeah.
All right, so the permit fee would be 1% of that, which would be $4 million? $40,000. And then there would be a plan review fee that's equal to 20% of the $40,000, so it'd be $48,000 in fees. I should also note that when the library was built, the village board voted to waive the permit fees.
Yeah, no, I'm all in favor of doing that. In fact, at this juncture, I'll make a motion.
Well, that would come after they've gone through.
Well, no, to direct them to move forward and that we provide them consensus at this juncture that fees shall be waived.
So that's a motion for them to move forward,
Mm-hmm.
which would be planning and zoning.
Yeah, through technical
I think we're
review.
moving forward to technical review from here. Is that what I understood the
Yes.
motion?
So is the motion, is there a second? I did it? Oh, yeah, okay. Any other comments from the board? No, this is great that you need the expansion. We're very happy to see that. That means the facility's being used, and being used a lot, so this is actually good news.
We think it is too. We have 250,000 visitors every year, and that's been consistent since day one. If you were there on opening day back in July of 2010, you know that we were exceeded capacity that day, and it's been a nice steady ride ever since. Clearly, the need exists for expansion, and this will position us well for the upcoming future.
Yeah, I mean, it took us a number of years to get this built, and we said there was a need at the time, and this proves that we were more than correct, so. Any other comments or questions? If not, then a roll call, please.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye?
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Motion carries.
For the record, I'd vote aye, if they change the name.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, is there anything else to come before the committee of the whole? All right, then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
No, I
Motion.
entertain the motion.
Second.
I motion
Second.
for adjournment.
Okay. Motion and second to adjourn. Roll call, please.
President Pro Tem Cook?
Aye?
Trustee Oppenheim?
Aye.
Trustee Takaoka?
Aye.
Trustee Schultz?
Aye.
Trustee Markwart?
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you for coming.
Mayor, have a good night.
Good night, Roger.
How are you feeling, by the way?
And may that Neil,
This was special.